everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your number one news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the new Marvel Legends Infinite Series Misty Knight figure. Now this figure is part of the Spider-Man Rhino Build-A-Figure wave, and it comes packaged in the same style of packaging we've seen with the other Marvel Infinite Series figures. We've got the Marvel logo as opposed to the Spider-Man logo like we saw with the Chameleon figure yesterday. That's because Misty Knight really doesn't have that close of an affiliation with Spider-Man. We've got the figure clearly displayed in the window box packaging, and then the Marvel Legends Infinite Series logo down below. We have some artwork for Ghost Rider on one side and Misty Knight on the other. On the back, we have a look at the Ghost Rider and the Misty Knight figures. Again, these are swap figures with each other. They're heroes for hire. Both figures are shipping in the same assortment. And you got a little brief bio for them, and then down below we have a look at all the figures in the Rhino Build-A-Figure wave. Okay, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. Now first of all, this figure comes with the torso piece for that Rhino Build-A-Figure, and we'll be looking at the Rhino in more detail in its own review once we have all the pieces ready to assemble. So be sure to check back for that. For the overall figure, I think this is a decent figure. It's not a great figure, especially compared with many of the other recent female Marvel Legends figures we've been getting, but it's not a bad figure. I definitely think the best thing about the figure is the head sculpt. I think they've done a really nice job with the overall face and sculpting of the hair, and just done a really nice job capturing the overall look and essence of the Misty Knight character. The paint applications on the face are pretty strong, especially with the eyes and the lips and everything. She's got the gold earrings, which look pretty good. Now she does have, with this red hairband in her hair, she does have some black bleeding through, so a little bit of sloppiness with the paint on the red headband. But otherwise, I think the head sculpt is really nice. So real quick, one thing I need to point out on her face, on the skin tone of her face, on her one cheek here, and honestly, I didn't even notice this until I was looking at the close-up images on the camera. And it looks much worse on the images, on the camera images, than it does in real life. But there's a little bit of lighter, it's like a stripe of lighter color for her skin tone here on her cheek. And so, it looks a little funny, especially on the camera. But again, it's not that noticeable in real life. I wouldn't have even probably had noticed it if I wasn't looking at the close-ups with the photos I had taken. So hopefully that's just unique to my figure, but I did want to point that out. Now besides the Rhino Build-A-Figure piece, Misty comes with her signature Revolver Gun, and this I'm a little disappointed with. It's done with just black, the handle's black, and then gold colored plastic. So there's really no paint detailing on this weapon. The sculpting on it is not bad, but the paint detailing looks pretty cheap overall. If you look at the picture of the gun on the back of the packaging, it looks like they used a much more metallic gold, and that gun looks a lot better than what we actually get. So especially after you see that image, it's kind of disappointing to see this kind of cheap looking plastic that they used. Now the gun itself, she holds in her left hand, and she holds it nice and tight. She's got a trigger finger, so you can kind of get her finger there in the trigger. And again, she holds the gun nice and tight in that hand. The other hand, her right hand, is closed-fisted. That's her robotic hand and arm. And the detailing on the fist is not bad. They've used a gold metallic paint on this. I would have liked them to have seen them use the same gold metallic paint on the gun as they did with this hand. Now one thing, I've seen her with where this arm, again, she's supposed to have a robotic arm, and her arm isn't supposed to be as bulky like, say, Winter Soldier, but it should be a little bit bigger than the regular arm, I would think. But I've seen it where like she doesn't actually have this arm covered, and I think this figure would have looked a lot better and would be more exciting if they had left the arm uncovered and given her kind of some details with the robotic arm. And the gun, it fits, she's got this holster, and I believe this is unique to this figure. I don't think they've used this holster with any other figures. It's separate from the figure, but it's not removable. And it kind of comes down across her waist, and she's got the lower strap that goes around her leg. And it's got a flap. There's no snap for the flap, but you can kind of push it into the holster if you want. And the gun itself fits pretty tightly and securely in that holster, so no real issues with the gun falling out of the holster. And again, you can kind of just slide that flap inside the holster if you want to. So besides the head sculpt being new, the upper torso is also new for this figure, and the detailing on it's pretty good. She's got these, she's got a shoulder holster sculpted on, and you know the paint applications are pretty simple, but I like the detailing with the sculpting. You got the pouches on the side, and then I like how the straps on the come together on the back. She's got the metallic gold belt buckles, so it matches the holster on her waist. So I think that looks good. She's got the the shirts zipped down, showing some cleavage, and she's got the gold metallic zipper and the high collar. So that all looks pretty good. The arms, the lower torso, and the legs all seem to share the same parts as like the Marvel Legends Storm figure. So other than the upper torso and the head, the hands are different and the feet are different. Storm's got some heels and she's got flat feet. But the lower torso, arms, and legs, same mold as the Storm figure. The paint applications, as I mentioned, on the head are pretty good, other than with some of that black bleeding through on the headband. The rest of the figure, other than the skin tones on her chest and her hand, are pretty much just the red for the costume. Now we do have some marbleization going on with that, especially here on her leg. And sometimes the marbleization doesn't bother me on a figure. I think it actually will sometimes look good. On this one, it doesn't like bother me too much, but the figure itself would probably look better without that marbleization. She's also got a little bit of bleeding of the red onto her chest on the skin, onto the skin color here down on the lower part of the zipper. So the figure stands at about 6.5 inches tall. She's a little bit shorter than the Storm figure, mainly because Storm's got the heels on her feet. So, and her hair, maybe Storm's mohawk is a little bit taller. Here she is next to the recent Iron Fist figure that Hasbro released, and she's a little bit, with her hair, is a little bit taller than Iron Fist. Articulation, the head is on a ball joint so she can look left and right, and she doesn't really have much up or down movement. She can kind of tilt her head to the left and right. She's got, arms are attached with your standard ball hinge joints, so she can get her arm out good, and she's got good rotation. She doesn't have a bicep swivel, but she does have the swivel at the elbow. She's got a single hinged elbow, but she can bend her elbow pretty good. And then she's got the hinges on the wrist, so she's got good up or down movement with the hands, and she's got the swivel at the wrist. She has a midsection joint, so she's got swivel at the midsection. No real up or down crunching with this one. Legs are attached with ball joints, no waist swivel on this one. She's got the thigh swivel. She can do the splits about that much. And she can get her leg forward pretty good. Can't really do her leg back. Even with the leg with the gun holster, she can get her leg forward pretty good. Now just a note, when the gun is in the holster and you do her leg forward like that, it kind of pushes the holster up and will sometimes kind of push the gun out a little bit. So just to be wary of that. She's got the double jointed knees. So she's got good bending at the knee, and then she's got the hinges on the feet, so she's got good up and down movement with the feet, and then she has ankle pivots. And then 2 peg holes on the bottom of her feet. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I like the figure. It's not a great figure, but it's not a bad figure. I really like the head sculpt on it. I think they did a nice job with that. Details like the paint applications on the weapon are a little disappointing, but otherwise I don't have any real complaints with the figure. Now I will say that this figure is a pain in the butt to keep standing. It has a tendency to fall over because it's a bit top heavy due to the head sculpt. So if you're going to display it on your shelves, you'll definitely probably want a figure stand or something like that. So this figure, along with the rest of the Rhino Build-A-Figure wave, should start hitting shelves here in the United States within a few weeks. It's started to hit overseas, and that's usually an indication that we're just a few weeks off from seeing them here. So if you want to add this figure to your collection, then you'll probably want to start looking in a couple weeks. And I definitely think if you're a Misty Knight fan, this is a figure that you will want to add to the collection. So that's our review. We'll have a full gallery of images of the figure over at marvelousnews.com. There's a link in the description below for that. And as always, we ask please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later.